The Pokemon Mawile has just been used as the final piece of the puzzle in one of the most broken teams Gen 3 OU has seen in a while. This new Mawile team is the center of much controversy, and little Mawile here might just be a catalyst for much bigger change in society. But how did we get here? How could Mawile, a PU ranked Pokemon that nobody would ever consider on a real competitive team, be the new thing to break the game? Well, why don't I explain this to you? The first thing you'll notice about Mawile is its dreadful stats. With only 50 HP, 50 speed, its highest stats are attack and defense, which are only 85. It is a low-tier Pokemon for good reason. It is struggling to exist. It's the terrible combination of frail and slow. But Mawile is not a completely useless Pokemon. In fact, it has more positive traits than you might expect at a glance. The ability Intimidate is one of them. That weird mouth hair thing is certainly intimidating. Intimidate lowers the attack of the enemy Pokemon on switch in, and it's a blessing to any Pokemon that has access to it. And Mawile is unique as an Intimidate user with its Steel typing, a great defensive typing that also offers crucial Sandstorm immunity and important resistances. Now allow me to tell you a little bit of a story about Baton Pass. Baton Pass is a move-in Pokemon that switches the user out while passing stat stage changes and other advantageous effects to the new Pokemon. It is a way for Pokemon to transfer stats to somebody else, and this is one of the most powerful moves in competitive singles. In most generations, Baton Pass is banned entirely. This is because there was always people finding game-breaking ways to use Baton Pass with what people call FullPass teams. Teams that are all in on the idea of racking up as many boosts as possible and keeping the chain of boosts going between multiple Baton Pass users, preventing the enemy from stopping the chain with mechanics like Magic Bounce, Taunt, etc. It just kept happening, so the move in most gens is banned completely. But in Generation 3, Baton Pass is not banned because the community believes it's important to preserve. Instead of banning the move, there are restrictions placed on how the move can be used. These are called complex bans. Usually, Pokemon formats avoid complex bans. They don't like them. But in Gen 3, we actually have some complex bans. For the most part, these complex bans that are in place have done a good job of preventing the Baton Pass strategies that are overpowered and uninteractive, and preserved the ones that people think are fine. But there are certain players that get a kick out of trying to solve the Baton Pass problem and make that FullPass team within the restrictions of Gen 3. Even though it's harder to do, some players have cracked the code and changed the rules every time they do. First, it was with Smeargle Belly Drum Pass teams. That resulted in Smeargle being banned from using Baton Pass. Then players started to use the move Assist to call Baton Pass from a teammate, so Smeargle could legally still use Baton Pass. Then that got banned. Then the Mr. Mime era began, the Mr. Mime era, where the player Mead figured out a team where Mr. Mime with Soundproof could be a middle point to pass Baton Pass boosts to. You could go to Mr. Mime and it has Soundproof, making it immune to Roar and preventing the main form of counterplay to boosts. So then the ability Soundproof was banned from being used. Then Mead did it again with the Pokemon Hypno. Hypno is a Pokemon that also has Baton Pass and the combination of Hypnosis and Taunt, so it could be used as the new mid-ground point to maintain that FullPass chain, rack up all the boosts in the world, then go to the moon. So then a restriction was put in place that said, okay, you cannot have Baton Pass and multiple sources of boosts on a team. So you can't Baton Pass Calm Mind and Iron Defense and Amnesia. You can only choose one. This prevented players from making these insane teams where you have one indestructible Pokemon with all the boosts in the world that can't be removed because the team is designed around keeping those boosts active as hard as it possibly can. And for quite a while, this did fix the issue. The FullPass teams were killed, and more honest uses of Baton Pass were preserved. And that is until Mawile stepped into the mix. It's always the most random Pokemon that break the game with FullPass. It always is. I didn't even mention the Octillery teams, by the way, because Suction Cups means you can't be Whirlwinded or Roared, so you pass all the boosts to Octillery. We don't have to talk about that. I forgot about it for good reason, for my own self-preservation. But now it's the Mawile era. We have solved the game with Mawile, kind of. So allow me to explain the game plan of this new team. You lead off with Zapdos and use the move Agility on turn 1, boosting you up. This Zapdos is very defensively invested, allowing it to live almost any incoming hit. Then you Baton Pass this speed out and try to maintain it for the rest of the game. Your goal is to get this speed to Hariyama, find a free opportunity for Hariyama to belly drum, and with max attack and double speed, you outrun the whole metagame in one hit, all of them. This is the goal. So to help find that free turn for Hariyama to belly drum, we need some strong middle points that have good moves to prevent the enemy's counterplay. Smeargle is, of course, a no-brainer. Smeargle can learn any move in the game, making it a great Pokemon at doing exactly this. Spore is fantastic to just incapacitate the enemy in front of you, and that generates a free turn. Smeargle, of course, gets Baton Pass. Taunt. And this set is running Substitute, another avenue to find free turns for Hariyama. The team is also running Vaporeon, another classic of FullPass teams. Vaporeon has very high HP substitutes, which are fantastic for finding free turns. Vaporeon learns Baton Pass, and it learns Roar. So it can roar before the enemy can, because it is faster, because it has speed passed to it. This is a great tactic to maintain your FullPass chain. They want to roar you out to get rid of all your boosts, but you roar first, basically denying them from doing this. Now, some version of these teams ran Marowak as an alternative game plan, a great speed recipient that can win on the spot in certain situations with Swords Dance or Belly Drum. And some versions of the team are running Celebi, another middle point for the Baton Pass change, which is convenient for its typing, natural cure to shrug off status, and be a bit of a status soaker, and also access to Leech Seed, and Subpass itself. So Celebi could also be used to keep the chain going. And then we have Mawile, the new face of the FullPass team here. Mawile, as we said earlier, is a steel type with Intimidate, which actually is kind of helpful typing-wise. I mean, think about Zapdos, who is weak to rock. Mawile is kind of the perfect thing to bring in, intimidating the Pokemon in front of it and stomaching rock-type attacks aimed to hit Zapdos. Mawile has access to Baton Pass, Substitute, and crucially, Taunt as well. It can be the first pit stop to prevent the enemy from roaring you out and earn that crucial substitute. Sometimes with Intimidate, the damage has been reduced enough on the enemy that you can get that free substitute immediately and just win with Hariyama that way. But the final move Mawile is using here is Mud Slap, a very dishonorable move, very dishonorable, but a great option nonetheless on this sort of team. Mud Slap is a 20 power ground type attack with a 100% chance to lower the opponent's accuracy. By lowering the opponent's accuracy, you might just be able to click Substitute, dodge their incoming attack, and boom, there is your free turn to bring in Hariyama for the win. That is kind of the idea. It won't always work, but Mawile will often find itself in a position where it has a free turn to do something, and Mud Slap is the perfect thing to click on an enemy switch out, middle grounding, whatever they could do. Or if you're in a desperate situation, Mud Slap could bail you out with pure RNG. So Mawile not only has that crucial sub-taunt, BP, and Intim combo, it's sand immune, so it's a little bit better than most at substituting repeatedly in the metagame where permanent sand is up. It also has this Mud Slap option to cheese its way out of bad scenarios and even maximize its odds when it's in a good position already. This is just another avenue to find that crucial single free turn that Hariyama needs to sweep the game. This team was built by the player Spreek and has been used by the morally dubious gamer Jonald to much competitive success. Now, this is not the only Speed Pass team that has emerged since the most recent ruling. ABR has experimented with Ninjask and Breloom teams, Breloom being the receiver. I believe McMagan was using one with Umbreon on it. But this most recent one has certainly caused quite a stir. Especially because Hariyama itself carries Whirlwind, giving it a way to prevent Roar before it is able to belly drum. And many of us who have played Gen 3 for a long time can only help but say, here we go again, another one, huh? They've done it again, they've broken Baton Pass. And what's interesting is that the last time this happened, there were multiple options that could have been chosen to address the issue. It was a suspect vote, and the ruling that was chosen was to ban multiple sources of Baton Pass. But another option was to ban the combination of Baton Pass and speed boosting moves, specifically, because speed boosting moves tend to be a common denominator in these full pass teams. Without speed, you can't really do any of the other nonsense. Speed is really the thing that breaks it, because by outrunning everything, you can taunt, roar faster than they can, sweep everything with your sweeper. It's the speed that causes all the problems, and recently we have seen speed be the only important stat to really maintain and pass. Once you pass speed, everything on your team is outrunning the enemy, and that restricts their ability to interact with you. And a lot of people back then wanted speed pass to be the option that was banned, because that would solve the issue permanently. And they had a great point. But the reason it wasn't done is because some people still wanted to preserve certain speed pass strategies. Not all speed pass teams are completely all in on preserving the boosts. It is a secondary game plan that, in some contexts, people view as more honest, not as uninteractive, where you might have the plan of passing agility to a receiver like Marowak or Metacham or Heracross or something, but that's not all you're doing, and you're not building the whole team around maintaining that and going all in on that. There are also strategies like Salakberry Pass, where maybe a Metacham or a Vaporeon is carrying a Salakberry in the move Baton Pass to, in some scenarios, give a single speed boost to an incoming ally. And I actually quite like those strategies. They're completely fine in my eyes, pretty niche, and not a very powerful form of stat passing that breaks the game or anything. So the Gen 3 community likes to preserve these strategies. They are fine parts of the metagame that are not broken, and it's always annoying when valid strategies get caught in the crossfire of larger rule set changes. This is the reason that we do not want to ban the move Baton Pass in its entirety, because, you know, Calm Mind Pass Celebi teams are a valid strategy in the eyes of the community. Setting up Calm Mind with Celebi is a greedy thing to do. It can be stopped with many different offensive switches that threaten Celebi, many different raw users. The real part people dislike are these infinite chains, where you are either all in on one win condition getting a setup turn and sweeping the whole game, or all in on, you know, stacking up every boost on the planet and becoming invincible. If you're just clicking a move, button passing out in a smaller capacity, people think that's fine, and they are fighting to preserve that, even though it is adding complexity to the rule set. So now we're back at Baton Pass discourse for what feels like the 10th time at this point, and some people are getting sick of it. Some people do just want to ban Baton Pass because this keeps coming up. But I would like to really push back against this idea. Baton Pass, in my opinion, is extremely important to the Gen 3 metagame, and has been part of its identity. It's been part of the format for a very long time. And I think if the wider community wants to preserve it, why shouldn't they? And this is an area where I sometimes take issue with how Smogon works. Because sometimes the people in charge of these decisions don't actually play the metagame that they have control over, and even if there is a wide community sentiment to do something, there is more of an adherence to clean policy and elegance in the rule set than, you know, creating a metagame that the community wants. And sometimes this annoys me. It happened in Gen 4 with Frostlass. I think a lot of Gen 4 players wanted to preserve Frostlass, but Frostlass is unfortunately illegal to use now in Gen 4 because of the ban to Snowcloak. To preserve Frostlass, they would have had to implement a complex ban, banning the combination of Snowcloak plus Snow Warning on a team. But how bad would that really be? Honestly, that wouldn't be that bad. It would never enable evasion abuse in the same way, and it would preserve a valid option of Frostlass lead on non-hail teams. And yes, this is a small niche set. It's not exactly the most popular hazard setting lead in OU, but it was a valid part of the metagame used pretty often in tournaments, and I think it deserved to be preserved. But it wasn't, unfortunately, because there was an adherence to the idea that rule sets have to be clean and not complex. Now, you should not break complex bans out for every little thing, of course, because that would get insane. The rule set would be 100 different things, like you can't use the combination of this and this. I understand that, and I understand not wanting it to get out of control. But if it's something important that the community cares about and wants to preserve, I think listen to them and let them have it. In this thread discussing the issue of Speed Pass, there was this post that I thought was interesting that said, it's really just ADV, or Gen 3, that gets this special treatment. Gen 3 is allowed to have 6 complex bans to preserve their beloved Baton Pass, but RBY, Gen 1, isn't allowed to do 1 wrapper per team, which is a much simpler ban. Also, DPP Gen 4 wanted to ban Ironhead at one point, but that also got shut down. These complex bans for Baton Pass are an extreme, blatant violation of tiering policy. For a forum that strives to avoid complex bans, it's shameful that Gen 3 Baton Pass has been able to get away with violating this precedent. And I gotta be honest, what the hell would be the problem with letting the Gen 1 community have this? 1 wrapper per team. Is anyone up in arms about this? I'd let them do it. Why not? If that's what they want, why the hell not? It's not even that complex of a ban, as you said. And then Gen 4 wanted to ban Ironhead. I mean, maybe they also complex ban Ironhead plus Jirachi, or Flinch Move plus Jirachi. Sounds good to me, mate. Let them. I don't know why we only get to do complex bans, but the message I would take from that is let other gens do it too. Why do only we get to do it? I don't actually know. But let them preserve Frostlass. Let them ban Jirachi from clicking Ironhead. Let them have 1 wrapper per team. And to be fair, at the end here they say, just bite the bullet and ban Baton Pass, or allow other gens to have complex bans to improve their metagames. I'm much more in favor of the latter. Let them have complex bans to improve their metagames too. I don't know, it's getting controversial in there. And I think that maybe people look at Gen 3 as a example of why not to do complex bans, because we keep doing them and the problem keeps propping up again anyway. But I don't think it's so wrong to want to do things in small iterative ways and be wary about losing strategies to collateral damage. I think that's just one way that you can look at design. You can either make a big sweeping change that solves the problem but costs other strategies in the process, or you can iterate, keep making small changes, see what happens, and then address the new issues as they prop up. And I don't necessarily agree with the idea that every single Pokemon format on Smogon should have a universal tiering policy when each individual metagame should probably be managed on a case-by-case basis and based on community input. I mean, the reason we're here is because the community has shown a desire to preserve the option of Baton Pass consistently. So what are the next steps here? What are these solutions? Right now, people are just talking. There's a policy review thread. No suspect test is happening or anything, but people are just talking about what they think. It's already getting pretty crazy in there, but some people are saying that you should now ban Smeagol from using Baton Pass again, because remember, one of the old changes with this, that Smeagol got banned from using Baton Pass, but then they undid that change when new rules came out. They went back on it. But now Smeagol using Baton Pass has proven to be a continued problem because it has every move in the game and it is one of the best Pokemon at maintaining chains, especially with Spore. Now, I don't know about that one. I think that is part of the problem. But I do think at this point that the fundamental problem is passing speed. Specifically speed. It's always speed. And I think that if you're not passing speed, the strategy ends up being perfectly fine. You know how most honest Baton Pass teams operate. They might pass Calm Mind or Swords Dance, but not speed. And you know what's messed up is that Jonold is already theory crafting what he might do if they ban Smeagol from using Baton Pass, and he's come up with Venonat. Yes, Venonat might be the next one. Because Venonat has the combination of accurate sleep and Baton Pass and substitute, which is basically what Smeagol's doing. Now, Venonat does not get taunt, but it gets supersonic to confuse you or disable, which are similar disruption effects. So you could just hope that you hit the confuse, and that keeps the chain going. You pass to Hariyama and do the same thing with slightly less consistency. So the fact that people are already theory crafting that, and that sounds okay to be honest, that doesn't sound too bad. Maybe the issue is not Smeagol, but maybe it's speed, because Venonat can break the game with Speed Pass too. It's just an idea right now, but I don't know. It sounds like it could work, to be honest. And there are other strategies that are kind of stupid and less popular, but that are still worth talking about here, that abuse speed pass, like speed passing to Poliwrath. Poliwrath has Hypnosis and Belly Drum, so you can speed pass to it, put the enemy to sleep to stop you from roaring you out, and then Belly Drum and sweep from there. Now Poliwrath is much weaker than Hariyama, and often things can live it, but this cheesy strategy can still pull wins out of thin air sometimes. And it is something worth considering, I think, when we're talking about speed pass. It's a more fringe strategy, but it's one that is aiming to rob games with a similar idea. And there is also Hypno, who was once used by Mead, but can also be used for its combination of Hypnosis, Substitute Taunt, and Baton Pass, which is exactly what Smeagol does, just with a less accurate sleep move. So then the FullPass team just comes down to, okay, if you land the Hypnosis, it works, and if you don't, tough luck. So in banning Smeagol from using Baton Pass, you would just give these FullPass team builders a slightly worse next best option that has the same options in its moveset, but is maybe sacrificing one important thing. Like Venonat sacrificing Taunt, and Hypno sacrificing Accurate Sleep. But they can, in essence, still do the exact same thing. I think that with how many times we have seen Speed Pass be a common denominator in all of these things means that the logical thing to do, in my opinion, is at this point to ban Speed Pass. Not Baton Pass entirely, but just Speed boosts plus Baton Pass. And I think that this should do it. And if this doesn't do it, then you can ban Baton Pass. Okay, we've tried everything. And if you try everything and it's still broken, then just ban the move. Now, the Speed Pass ban will have collateral damage to those Selakberry Pass sets, which are fine, and will unfortunately no longer be legal. And also Agility Pass Zap. But look, we can't go too far in the other direction either. It's all about balance here. It's about compromise and reaching a good middle ground, I think. Because, you know, a community of gamers is many different individuals with different thoughts. In my opinion, at this point, more small changes to preserve as much as possible is being a bit unreasonable. I am not displeased that we've done it up to this point. I think it's fine. I think it's good that the community has the passion to want to fight for this. Preservation of valid strategies, but at this point, there is clear evidence, I believe, that this common denominator of Speed Pass continues to be pushed to its limits every time and find ways to break the game. So I would be in favor of banning Speed Pass, personally. And we'll see if a suspect test happens. We'll see what happens. Now, I just want to say, if I was in charge, if it was up to me, and I had complete authority to make whatever rules I wanted, I would probably ban Ninjas, because I hate him. And I would ban Sand Attack, because I hate Sand Attack enabling free turns for Speed Pass teams. I would also ban Smeagol from being allowed to use BP, and possibly the combination of Taunt plus BP. I mean, but you can see why that is not a tenable series of solutions, and that's introducing like 5 new bans. I mean, it's not my metagame, it's a collective metagame, and we've got to reach a fair mid-ground solution that is as elegant as possible. My philosophy with this is that the complexity of the rules should match the importance of what they're preserving. You know? If you're introducing a complex rule, it should be for something valuable. At this point, I think that we are muddying the waters, and the complexity of the rule set is not actually there to preserve things that are that important. It's getting imbalanced in that sense, and the complexity is outweighing the purpose it originally was intended for. So I would push back a bit. We go with a more sweeping ban of Speed Pass in its entirety. And that is a clear fundamental issue that has some collateral damage, some unfortunate collateral damage, but also mostly solves the problem, in my opinion. But what do you folks think? Game balance is complex, huh? There's much debate right now, but that is my take on it. And let me know what yours is down below in the comments.